Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Hopefully, you got some rest during spring break, spring furlough. So, I want to be sure that you're all checking in on your progress and you know where you are in terms of your project and presentation. So, now is the time to look at the schedule. There are 6 weeks left in the semester, including final exams. So, we're running out of time if you are planning on doing things later. So please go in, identify what you've missed, and create a plan. So look at the schedule, look at what's going on in the next 6 weeks. When will you catch up? When will you complete the assignments that you did not submit when they were originally suggested as due? And when are you going to finish up your project? Okay, so I went in and just changed the grades in the grade book so that anything that you haven't completed so far that had a due date or a suggested due date now has a 0. So you see in the grade book where you would be right now if you don't go back and catch up. Some of you submitted assignments that did not meet the requirements. So instead of giving you a low score, I just gave you some comments, and at this point, those have turned to 0. So let me know if you have any questions about my comments or questions about anything related to the project or the class. We'll schedule one more one-on-one meeting with each of you to check on your progress and to see if you have any questions. So if we look at the rest of the semester, so I haven't turned on the modules, but let me show you what should be showing up. So here we are, catching up and writing. Next week, there's a draft submission suggested. The week of April 3rd, I have you working on your presentation, doing individual meetings with me. And then we have 3 weeks where there's a capstone paper, a presentation, and a final journal. And then here's where you actually submit those final assignments. So if we go back up to the assignments, so let's review the actual project. Okay, and we had some meetings on this, but I want to make sure. You're going to do an introduction. You've written a little bit about the introduction, overview, thesis statement. What's the background? What's the history on the problem? Certainly you can use some literature from popular press, but that should be combined with and balanced with academic, rigorous, research articles as well. So provide analysis of the issue, the history, and try to identify the root causes of the community issue that you are researching. Based on the research that you've done, if you've gathered additional information, if you've interviewed people, if you've used newspaper articles, whatever. So based on the research that you've done, create options for addressing the issue. Okay, so your options should indicate a deep understanding of the problem, the ethical, logical, supported by evidence. Okay, so some of you started out the project knowing what you thought was the answer, and so that's not part of the process. You can still conclude with the same solution, but you need to use data to support a variety of options and then to support your choice. Finally, what is your selected or recommended action? Which option do you choose and why? So again, evaluate and defend the option that you suggest or you select. And then the last section is to identify the role or position that could lead change in implementing your recommendation. If it's not you, then who else might it be? Using what you've learned about leadership in your time at the Citadel, describe the approach best suited for the individual working on the change and the recommendation that you create. So be sure, again, you're using citations as you explain and defend your suggested leadership approach. So with the presentations, I gave you the option of presenting at the research day, academic excellence day, or the second option is going to be to create a recorded presentation that we can share with other students, share on our website to publicize what we're doing with leadership at the Citadel. So here is the rubric for, oh, sorry, I jumped ahead. This is the rubric for the paper. Okay, so introductions should grab our attention, describe the purpose, have a well-developed thesis statement that drives the paper. The background assertions should be supported with multiple sources of evidence, analysis of the literature, exploration of the root causes, fully explained, explore at least 3 options, thoroughly researched and addressed. They should be appropriate. Excuse me, evaluations of the actions. Choose the action that you recommend and provide a defense for that action. Leadership approach, talked about. Citations and APA, at least 15 citations are included. They should be correctly formatted, at least 7 from peer-reviewed journal or scholarly books. Okay, so out of 15, at least 7, almost half, need to be peer-reviewed journal articles or scholarly books. And you should be using your professional writing skills. Okay, so that's the evaluation for the paper. Now we have the presentation. So an excellent presentation would capture people's attention through a question, quote, story, or statistic. You would clearly articulate the problem and convince the audience that it needs to be addressed. Use some research as well as some stories or emotion. Effectively satisfy the presented need. Okay, so did you basically solve the problem using data for your approach? Effectively reminded audience of the benefits by pointing to others who've had similar problems, or using, again, the research. So the final component on this page is talking about the leadership. Who's going to be the leader and which approach should they use with at least 1 citation overall. So your last slide, or one of your last slides, should be a list of citations. Final reference slide is included. And then how well you present, clear articulations, eye contact, enthusiasm are the last point on the rubric. So there you go. Keep all that in mind as you're going into the last 6 weeks of the semester. I'd like to see all of you finish strong and come up with great ideas for addressing the community problems that you identified. So let me know if you have any questions.